Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Becoming the 1% podcast. My guest today is Justin Bishop. He is a sponsored professional skateboarder who is blind. Need I say more? Watch the episode. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
I always like to start off each episode by sort of handing the mic over to the guest. I want to hear about you, your journey, your story. You are a professional skateboarder, but there's so much more to unpack to that story than just that simple sentence.
Yeah.
Tell me about the origin story, the beginnings. How did you even get into this?
For people that don't know, I'm blind. I'm fully blind. I was diagnosed at the age of 8, but I was just diagnosed with having the condition. I could still see perfectly fine. And the eye doctors, they were just like, hey, this condition, retinitis pigmentosa, on average don't make people blind till they're in their 50s. So don't worry about it. Back in the early 90s, they didn't have too much studies as they do now. So my family, me, we just like, all right, we don't got to worry about that till I'm 50. So live a normal life. And then I discovered skateboarding at the age of 10. And that's really how it starts,
So you are a blind professional skateboarder.
Yeah.
And at what age you lost your sight prior to becoming a professional, I assume, but you started skateboarding when you were 10.
Yes.
So how many years skating did you have before you lost your eyesight?
I got, I became legally blind at the age of 20, and then I went fully blind at the age of 25. So I had about 10 years of really good vision under my belt of skateboarding, and then 5 years of visual impairment with skateboarding. And then I took about 5 years off to kind of, learn how to live blind. I was kind of running from it my whole life. And so once I kind of figured out how to live an independent life, being blind and being comfortable with, like emotionally and everything like that, then, picking up my life, getting a job again, and then skateboarding was the last thing to return me to being me again.
Wow, so much to unpack here, and I want to get into just the minutia of how to even pick up a sport like skateboarding while having this type of a disability. But before I do that, I really want to, because in preparation for this, I mean, I knew this episode was coming, and I asked several family friends. I said to them, I'm like, okay, would if you had to be blind, if you had to lose your vision, would you rather be born blind, or would you rather have 10 to 20 years of life experiencing your eyesight, then lose it? All of them said the same thing. I would rather be born blind. I would rather be born blind. And then to that question, I then followed up with, well, I'm having this guy Justin on. He's a professional skateboarder. He lost his vision when he was 25 years old. Yeah. Then they all wanted me to ask the same question. I mean, what was that like? What is the emotional toll someone goes through when you lose something as incredibly valuable as your eyesight at that age?
Yeah. So, what it feels like is, and one of the hardest adjustments is because like no one tells you what it's gonna feel like. But now that I've gone through it, and I can actually tell you, it's like losing a loved one. You're literally losing a part of yourself. So to get through it, you literally go through the stages of grief. And once you get through those, then you're kind of back to it. But it feels just like you're literally losing someone you love.
Wow. Stages of grief. How exactly did that resonate with you? I mean, what was that like?
So I'm always fully honest, because people hear my story, they see me, what I'm doing, and think I'm like this inspirational person, but I'm only inspirational because I get back up. So what happened was the first month I lost my sight, I didn't leave my room. I barely left my bed. I drank a lot of alcohol and a lot of Tylenol PM and NyQuil, because when I first lost my sight, I could still dream fully sighted. I still dream sighted because that's how I spent my life.
Really?
So, yeah. So the first month, I just wanted to sleep because I could still see there. And it was like almost like, my escape, or, that stage of grief of ignoring it, or, still running from it.
Wow.
Yeah.
You could see in your sleep.
I still do.
So you still, and because you had 20 years of life experience, that's a lot of life experiences with your sight. I mean, you are how old now?
I'm 36.
You're 36.
Yeah.
So for, call it 12 years. Am I math right on that? You've been
yeah, about 11 years.
11 to 12 years.
Yep.
So again, trying to really put myself into the perspective of this.
Yeah.
Do you still have, to the best of your recollection, I mean, the knowledge on what, like if I were to say to you, okay, can you still describe to me the ocean? Can you still describe what it looks like? Can you still, I mean, all of that's still there for you, very vivid in your mind.
Yeah. Like, so, even, right now, my imagination is still laying out this room. I don't know what you look like, but I have a placeholder in my head, what you look like and where you're sitting. Off the description, you painted the room for me, so I kind of like imagine that.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, I would never want to be born blind. I'd rather have what that way I can be briefly described on what things look like, and I already have a reference point. Like some people born blind, the little stuff get lost in the details. So like I have a blind friend, and they didn't know birds had legs until they were 26, 27, because no one talks about birds having feet. They're always flying, or they're, nesting or something like that. So
Sure.
It never comes up. So there's these little things that you don't know what you're missing if you were born blind, because you're just going off of either what people have told you, and the details is what gets lost when you're blind.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. It's like, it's a poor comparison, but it's the only one that comes to my mind. Yeah. When I describe to somebody, like for example, if you take something like the Harry Potter books, and you experience the movie, the cinematic, movies, which are actually old enough. Did you watch them? Because they would have. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So this is a perfect analogy. If you're somebody who has seen the movies, then you read the book. While reading the book, I don't have a visual, actual representation in my head of what it looks like. Mm-hmm. If I have seen the movies and I watched them through, then I read it, as I did personally, my experience, I found that it gave me I'm like, oh, I know what Hagrid looks like. I can see him because they showed him to me, because I watched him for 10 years in movies. So that is, wow. So to you would much rather have lost your eyesight at age 25 rather than be born without ever having seen. So then the old adage of like, well, I never had it, so I never lost it. That doesn't really apply here.
No, I would compare it to more of like, it's better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. I got to experience driving. I got to experience movies. I got to experience video games, and
that's
so
beautiful.
I got to experience skateboarding, and skateboarding is some of the flip tricks we do are so hard to describe, so like you'd only be able to see it, and so I'm going off of my library of memory on like what flip tricks are and like the names of them and stuff like that. So I'd rather have that foundation built instead of trying to build it without any sight. So yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Definitely.
And for those people out there who have never really taken a serious crack at skateboarding, I personally, as a kid, I mean, when I was probably 6 to 13, I went through my skater phase. I snowboarded my whole life, so I still do that. I've been an avid snowboarder, still go every year. But for those who don't know, it is one of the most difficult tasks you will do. If you have 20/20 vision, it is still impossibly difficult to be an achieved skater. Just to drop into your first pipe took me, I don't know, 2-3 months to be able to actually get over that fear and do that. It is a difficult task.
Yeah, it's a pretty steep learning curve for skateboarding.
No pun intended.
It's pretty intense. Yeah,
it seriously is. And so now let's transition to the world of skating, which you have now found yourself in. Did you become a professional like much later after you had lost your vision?
Yeah. I mean, I only became a professional about like 2 years ago. And it's one of those things I got, I mean, you can, however you want to take it, like lucky I went blind and was able to do it, because as you know, like professional athletes, they're just on another level. And I think the average person has the ability in them to train like a professional athlete and have the discipline of a professional athlete. Mm-hmm. It's just those natural gifts that pass down through DNA. And so I was, even when I could see, I had the determination, I had like the drive. I just didn't have that extra 3-5 inches. And so it made it a little harder. But once I lost my sight, my determination was still the same and everything else was still the same. And so the only way I was able to become professional is just my hard work. But yeah, I just missed it. I was a sponsored skater when I had sight, but I knew I'd never be professional. But I loved the sport so much that I was like, I'm going to do it forever. You know?
Sure.
So
for the love of the sport,
yep.
Not ever for the money, which is how most great achievement is done.
Yeah.
You never do anything you love for the money. The money just kind of happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I because I got to ask, I mean, how exactly do you compete?
So I get to compete against other adaptive athletes. There's not enough in my blind division. There's like 3 of us.
There is?
Yeah.
I've never heard ever. You're the only one I've ever heard of. That's amazing.
Yeah, there's 3 of us, and so that's still not enough, and so we're still growing the sport, try to get into the Paralympics. So right now, we're competing with limb different skateboarders, so like amputee, if they're like double leg amputees and they'll like skate on their knees, or so we're skating with them, and then we're trying to build a sport so we can both make it to the Paralympics in our own divisions, and then grow the sport that way. But I'll probably be like old when that is happening, but I get to, help make the pathway for it.
That's incredible. Yeah. That is incredible. And the particulars of the situation you find yourself in, being determined, having this disability, and yet still achieving in the sport. You are a branding, like, just unbelievable branding deal. I mean, for anybody who's in this industry who wants to get their name, it is just so much more impressive what you have achieved versus, not to discredit any of the pros, but somebody else who's a professional skater. I couldn't tell you even maybe 1, maybe 2 professional skaters right now that I could see and remember and be like, oh yeah, that's it. But I mean, I will never forget the first time I saw your page. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Is this for real?
Yeah.
When it was sent to me, I literally, the first thought in my head was like, there's no way this is real. There's no way somebody's actually blind skateboarding. But
I get that all the time. Like,
do you really?
Yeah. If you don't, because one, they like skateboarding is insanely hard. And they're like, why would anybody even want to do that? But, I mean, when it really comes down to it, I'm addicted to it. So I dream about it. I think about it all the time. And so when my life was getting back together, it's like, what else would I do? I tried, doing long distance running. I'm an athlete in my soul. So when I was returning to, being blind and like sports and stuff, I was like, oh, I'll try goalball. That's a sport made for the blind. Just wasn't for me. Did long distance running, did a couple marathons, half marathons. It just was boring, just not for me, not my sport. And when I returned to skateboarding, just the spark hit. And when you just lose hours, like, and you're like, what time is it? Like, and you're still going and you just feel great. So it's just that's what it is. It's not, I didn't get into blind skateboarding. I was skateboarding, went blind, and you don't give up your love easy when just because you have a disability.
Never.
So
no, this is your purpose, and and this is, you said it earlier, so I'll say it now. I mean, you going blind may have been one of the best things for your skate career ever. The inspiration that you provide for people who, regardless of what they want to do, the fact that you are still sticking to what you want to do and excelling at it is amazing. That is nothing short of amazing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I just I truly believe we have one life here, and why would I want to just sit on the sidelines hoping there's another life that I'll have vision again? So you just kind of from Vegas, so you just play the cards you're dealt. And, for the longest time I was bluffing my way through it, and then after a couple of years you start getting good, and it starts materializing. Walk
me through. I mean, let's use my analogy. I mean, dropping into a pipe. I know muscle memory will get us a long way, and this was another question that I really reached out to a lot of people to get me some fuel for this podcast on what to ask. And one thing I wanted to make sure I brought up was, certain people have told me, and I could be conflating this with what I've seen in comic books, Daredevil, that type of thing. With you losing your vision, have you noticed an enhancement with any of your other senses, your sense of balance, equilibrium, anything? Has there been stuff that's picked up the slack?
So balance was the hardest thing to get back. You can relearn your balance with your internal clock. I don't know how to describe it. So when I first returned to skateboarding, I couldn't get level. My shoulders were off. My balance was off because you use sight lines for balance, like, you know, almost all humans do.
Yeah.
And so when I was returning to skateboarding, I actually had to buy a balance board and relearn how to balance. And because then I'm like, you know, like where to find my balance at, and like mine's in my gut now, so I imagine it there every time, but before you just look and there's your sight line. So balance was actually really hard to get back. What was the other one? Oh, and then my other senses. I would say it's more of like you just use them more. So I think anybody hears like I hear, but since you don't have to focus on it, you like lose the little stuff where that's all I have. So I notice every little thing, and it's more because I'm listening for it, because that's one more little information that might help me out somewhere. But no, it's not like superhuman stuff. You just start focusing on it more, and then you can kind of sharpen that knife a little bit, but nothing crazy.
So you lost your balance, got a balance board. Was it like a cyborg? Was it like a Bosu ball? What did you use to first break through that?
Yeah, there's this company. It's called I think it's Revolution Balance Boards, but they actually have surf ones, regular workout ones. But I got a skateboard balance board. So
nice.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it was.
So you started
shaped
in
like that.
In a room, just with help, I assume, getting up onto the skateboard and like learning how to.
No. There's being a skateboarder, you take slams, so no help. You get on. If you fall, you learn not to fall next time. So no, I was in my living room just eating it, in between that. And then when I first started skateboarding again, I was so afraid of someone trying to take it away from me, tell me I couldn't do it because I was blind. So between that, I would do the balance board in the house and then go in my garage in the summer of Vegas. So it's like 130 degrees.
Yeah.
And you're just skateboarding with the garage down because like you just fell in love with this thing and you don't want anyone to take it away.
So obviously on flat ground first.
Oh yeah.
To the skateboard, just getting on the skateboard and riding it.
Yep. Back and forth, like and not even moving far. Like I'm either stationary in the garage, like trying to practice ollies, and then, take a break, go inside the house and do the balance board for half an hour, and then come back out to the garage and, practice a trick or two and then go back and forth. But it was, I knew what I was missing because I already had skateboarding in my life for 15 years before. So I knew my balance was off. So I was like, all right, all I have to do is focus on balance right now. That's it. And so it was just baby steps, because I never thought that I would ever be able to skateboard like I do now. Mm-hmm. I thought I'd just be able to roll around, maybe pop an ollie. And my goal was like a kickflip, and so like...
What would you say is the most impressive trick you can do right now in a competitive stage?
Anything going downstairs, because it uses everything I have in my toolbox. So I have to use rope to guide me to the stairs in a straight line. I have a beeper box at the bottom letting me know where the last step is and where the ground's at. And then I have to use my cane in front of me to let me know when that first the first stair drops.
Oh my gosh.
So,
I'm watching your video right now as you're talking to me. You're not just going off the stairs. You're throwing... my vernacular on the trick is very, very rudimentary, but it's a kickflip and it spins around.
Oh, the Casper flip down the... Is that a 4-stair?
Yes, it's a 4-stair with a railing.
I mean... Yeah, it's a Casper flip down a 4-stair. But yeah, anything larger, 4 stairs are a little bit easier because it's only about like 2.5 feet high, 3 feet high.
A little bit easier.
But when you get up to like 6 stairs, 7 stairs, that's when you're just like, you just throw your body and like you learn fast, like how fast you got to go. And so, yeah, I would say that's the hardest thing for me to do because it uses like every sense I have left. Besides that, like transition, ledges, flat ground, that's all pretty easy.
Yeah.
But the stairs are like the hardest.
So you approach a staircase. Let's say that you've got a 4-stair that you've never done before, but you want to plan out your trick.
Yep.
Obviously, like you said, you've got your beeper at the bottom telling you where the stairs end. You've got your rope for a straight line. Let's say your first 5 passes at it. Are you just rolling up to the ledge with your... Is it a cane? That's what it's technically called?
Yep,
so
my cane.
You roll the cane up to where you see that the step occurs, then you stop. Then do you go back and do that again?
So how it starts is before I even get on my skateboard. I set up everything and I stand at the very top of the set and I jump down without a skateboard first. So I know the distance. I know how long I should be in there and how fast I should be going to clear it. And then after that, it's honestly just getting your balls up to like do it. And so you just throw down, and my instincts and my reaction times already been worked out with years of skating blind. So sure. I'm not too worried about that. It's just that first jump is the scariest. And then after that, it gets a lot easier. But that first one, you're just like, ugh.
What's been the worst injury you've mentioned your ACL?
Yeah,
I assume that happened skateboarding.
Yep. Yeah. So my knee has been going through stuff since 2020. I did my first handrail blind in 2020, and I tore my meniscus. But I couldn't get into a doctor's office because everyone you had to have COVID to go to a doctor, and it was just my meniscus. Right. And so I was like, I think I'm fine. I just won't deal with it. And it healed. It was good enough, but it was like a nice clean rip. I think it folded a little bit, but good enough. And then last year, before Dew Tour, I had a slight tear in my ACL. And I just took about I think 2 months off, or I took it easy for about 2 months, and it healed. And then I came back in December and started ramping back up, and then I fully tore it off of a 4 or 5 stair. It's in my IG somewhere.
Where you tore it, the actual tear you have on film?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's in, if you look around December or January, around that time. I just forget when we posted it, but
was it? I mean, were you on the rail? Did you jump up?
Oh no, I was warming up. I was gonna do a flip trick down it, and so I was like, all right, preparing, did my jumps, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna ollie it just to get the ollie out of the way. That's like a warm up trick. And when I landed, my foot slipped off, just bent wrong. I felt the tear instantly. And I just knew what it was. So yeah.
Now because I see your tricks on this page are usually accompanied with a few other people. Do you have teammates? Do you have people that go out with you and create?
In the world of skateboarding, we have these things called crews, and so your crew is pretty much your workout buddies. And so
love that.
They're the people that you connect the most with. They're the people that are going to hype you up the most. And so you just build these crews over time. And I've jumped around between different crews. Usually it's also related around the filmer.
Sure.
Skateboarding is in the streets, and so we film all our tricks and try to put it into a video by a year or two in. And so usually the crews are made around the filmer.
Got it.
So
a good videographer is a quintessential part of a crew. And the goal of the crew, I assume, is for everybody to become professional.
Yeah. Honestly, skateboarding is not about becoming professional. It's one of the hardest things to become professional at. There's no money in skateboarding. Tony Hawk, Nyjah have money if you got Nike deals, of course. But besides that, there's literally maybe the top 15, 20 guys that are making good money. Besides that, you can be a professional and, bringing home 25,000 a year, even less. Sure. So it's not, it's these guys are doing it literally for the love. And it's one of the best things about skateboarding. That's honestly one of the reasons that I get the attention I get, is because, I'm embodying what it means to be a skateboarder, is just going, never giving up, and, not being afraid.
Right. Because somebody who takes their life and dedicates it to an activity like this, an activity that even if you reach a high level will never really become a huge successful career, most likely.
Yeah.
Someone like you're still doing that, even in spite of the fact that you had this dilemma after, halfway through your career, this massive change that you're still pushing through.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's just more of I every day I wish I loved golf or any other sport that had money, but it just never happened. The sport I love has a hard learning curve. So usually sports that have a pickup learning curve, like snowboarding, golf, pickleball, anything that anybody can just a weekend warrior can do. That's where the money's at. But any sport that's people even ask why are you doing that, and then you know right off the bat oh yeah, I forget that normies don't like the taste of concrete. I love it. So it's just one of those things that you just you get used to.
It's definitely a high risk activity. I mean, of all the extreme sports, this is one of the least forgiving. Like I said, I've done snowboarding. I've broke both my arms. I've done knee stuff. I've hit trees. But at the same time, I mean, you typically don't do snowboarding year round.
Yeah.
And B, at least you're landing on snow. When you're falling off those staircases and landing on the concrete, it just, it's high risk. And that, obviously, you've had your knee. Has there been anything else, I mean, since this, it's where you've been like, wow, this has really knocked me out of commission?
Oh, knocked me out of commission? No, just that. But when I first returned back to skateboarding after losing my sight, I was knocking out my teeth kind of often. Because I would land, one foot would be on the tail, one foot wouldn't, and it would just pop up and smack me in the face. Now I have more board control, and so I know where it's at all times pretty much now. But in the beginning, I knocked out 4 teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you taken on any like strength training protocols to accompany your sport?
Yeah, you have to. If you you can get away without any strength training in your 20s, but the minute you hit like 30, if you're not doing leg days, if you're not building up muscle, like, dude, your bones are gonna get thrashed. So I'm not working out to get big. I'm working out to protect my bones and my joints. So
definitely, yeah. I mean, if I've never actually created a periodized program for a professional skateboarder before, or anybody who's come to me and said, hey, I'm a skater, I need you to create me a program, that would be very fun and interesting to do, because you're right, it's not about, you're not a bodybuilder, you're not trying to put on a bunch of size. In fact, and maybe you would agree with me on this, I mean, a skateboarder's physique, if you could create it, is probably not a big guy.
No, you want like Spider-Man, that type of like circus type of body, thin and tight. That's
Cirque du Soleil, sort of a gymnast type of body. Maybe even gymnasts can get very, very big.
Yep.
But for this type of activity where you are essentially doing vertical tests all the time while testing your balance and your head, I mean, it seems like very small, very lean, very endurable athletes would be ideal.
Yeah, that's what you're looking for. Yeah. Tight, and then I'll throw some yoga in there. I've been putting off yoga for so long, and with this injury, I'm like, all right. So some nice stretching routines as well.
Have you done any Bikram yoga, any sort of a class flow since you've lost your sight?
No, so that's the thing, because like all these poses, I never did yoga before I went blind. To
learn them.
Yeah, so like me and my wife were actually doing a plan, because I finally like gave into yoga, and I'm doing it because I've been doing some stretching programs, and so I'm like, all right, I'll just go all in yoga.
Oh my goodness,
I'm gonna need some of that.
No, dude, hear me out on this. And I get what you're saying, because for people who don't know, typically if you go into a Bikram class, which is essentially an 80-minute hot yoga flow, you're in there with probably 30 people. And the instructors typically don't even touch you. They don't adjust you. They don't, if it's that big of a class, they're going to sit in the back. And even for people who like have some yoga experiences like me, like if I go to a new Bikram class with an instructor I don't know, I'm like kind of having to look around and watch the people around me. I'm like, oh, I don't know this one. This is so weird. If you can't do that and the instructor isn't taking the time to get with you, I understand why there's been this sort of pushback to doing that. Yeah. At the same time, something like what we're doing, where we do like one instructor and 3 people, that would be perfect for what you guys are trying to do, because you need 2 things. Yeah. One, you need the mobility that comes from yoga. Mm-hmm. I mean, yoga, there isn't anything else that I've ever found anywhere that gives you the specifics and the benefits that a good yoga practitioner will if you follow a good program. But at the same time, you need somebody who's hands-on, who's like, hey, this is dancer pose. This is what this feels like. Yeah. Because to you, it doesn't help them to be like, oh no, this is what it looks like. You'd be like, hey man, like what? You got to show me, actually show me. Yeah. But doing that, if I could give you, one thing, now that I know you're not yet doing that, I would definitely try to find even somebody just that can come to your house, a good instructor that's mobile, that can come give you instruction and hands-on teach you how to do this. Because yoga's great also because you can do it alone. Yeah. You can do yoga by yourself, just 15 minutes every day.
Yeah, yeah, and I need to start bending my knee a lot more because I've plateaued on how far I can bend it back, and they suggest I'm just not there yet with the pressure. So we're hoping by July 3rd I can start actually going into like a little harder of my stretching and stuff like that. But yeah, so it's on my radar now, but I have been pushing it off for years. But now I'm like, all right, I have to. I have a donor ACL, so cadaver, so like those ones.
Oh wow, so it's a total replacement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude! Yes, you need to be doing.
So
that.
yeah, that's what they suggest. I was like, all right. So
have you stumbled across Ben Patrick, his knee over toe protocol?
I love knees over toes, guys. So yeah, we already implicate a lot of his workouts right now. Yeah. So yeah, that's my main thing. You know, do
you have a slant board?
Yep.
You had a slant board and everything.
We have I don't know what it's called, but pretty much like an assault treadmill. The treadmills without the motor.
motors.
So we got that. Put that on max and do my backwards and all the stuff that he's been doing. So
have you ever because I mean again because this is what I do.
Yeah.
The assault fitness is really great for running, for walking backwards, and for warming up into that. But have you implemented yet? I mean, have you done like maybe backward walks pulling a sled or resistance bands or anything where it's slow?
Just on that thing, like I'll turn up the resistance max on that, and they have handles
on the rails.
That like are for like pushing backwards or so. But just there. Before we leave, full sled though.
Before we leave, let me take you in the back and show you a little protocol I would have you do.
Yeah.
And you can get. I mean, if you want, I'll put you in touch with Torque. They make that sled back there. That's super easy. You don't have to load it or unload it. It's just a pin. You pull it up and it goes click, 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 and it will basically tell you low, medium, high, and high, and you control your own resistance without adding or taking away any plates.
Oh yeah, I would love to check that.
Then
out.
you need, because this is what you need, a treadmill. The treadmills are great. Again, I like them for priming the movements, for high intensity interval training, all that good stuff. But for the specifics of ACL, because in my time with the NFL and ever since, I've got a lot of ankle, hip, and knee problems. It seems to be like little gravity sites for injuries. Everybody's always hurting, something like that. Knees, I know probably the most about. I myself had an LCL tear. I rehabbed it, got back to full range of motion, everything. Ben's stuff is good, but a lot of that stuff, you must implement actual weighted resistance beyond just a treadmill. You need to have something that you are pulling like a sled, like something weighted to where you're like using those muscles and just walking backwards. See, what I would do for you is just get you a little strip like what I have back, and all I got to do is be like, all right, Justin, go. Justin, stop. And that's it. It's really just walking backwards in a straight line with the weight. That will help rehab that knee big time.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, because even like what I'm doing right now, I've noticed even after like a leg workout where I'd be dead after a leg workout the next day because I've been doing this every day, the backward like walking with the resistance on the assault treadmill. I'm not even sore the next day anymore, so like I noticed something. So even if one more thing could even make that better, I'm all ears. So definitely after this.
It's because it's not just about the cardiovascular or going through the movements. You really and this is a big part of what I preached on my people. I'm like, look, everybody needs to be exerting themselves with the weight that they move. Everybody needs to be pushing and being a powerful athlete, even if you're not a power athlete. And Ben preached. I mean, Ben does a lot of the box jumps and all that kind of stuff, which is not weighted resistance. That's just jumping and stretching and moving. And he implements yoga and but he also does a lot of weighted stuff. He's like, you need to be doing goblet squats on your front board with weight. You need to be walking backwards with weight. Weight is the key to overloading that joint and preparing it for the impact of you jumping off the stairs. So no, that's good, man. That'd be where I'd start you. Definitely.
No, perfect. I want to check that out.
So because this is definitely not an exclusive issue that you have had. There is large trials and adversities that people go through and athletes go through. I mean, if you could leave them with just one one tidbit. If someone has lost something as significant as what you did, but they've got something that to them they're like, well, I can't do this anymore. What would you tell them?
I would honestly say just don't do what I did. I put off, it took me 5 years to return to skateboarding. And really, if I never gave it up, I would have had something, a passion that would have got me through those harder times of learning how to be blind. We always forget so much that, we have these passions for a reason because they make life better. And if you're just giving that up, there's a way to adapt. If I can be blind in skateboard, even, where I started was just a balance board. You got to take baby steps, but don't give up your love because that's what's going to get you through the hardest times.
Wow. So passion promotes your healing. That's powerful stuff. Yeah, because I think oftentimes when trials or adversities hit us, we have a tendency to not even think about our passions, because usually the trial doesn't have anything to do with my passion. It's like, I liked this thing in my life, but no, I can't do that now. This has been taken away from me, or I have the perception that it's been taken away from me.
Yeah, it's I always suggest don't get bitter. You can get angry, get mad, but use that anger and use all that as strength to, power through it. Sometimes a little weird thing I do in the morning when I'm feeling sad or upset about being blind, I kind of turn into Ric Flair, and I do a little wrestling promo in my head, talking to the universe type of thing. You made me blind, but you ain't taking me out, type of that. And
sure,
I'll be styling and profiling down the street, that kind of if I pick a enemy, then that makes me want to get on my board. That makes me want to hit the gym. But if I wake up just, pity party, bitterness, that I'm not going to want to get out of bed. So anger is good. Bitterness is bad. So just stay away from that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I think it's incredible what you're doing, brother. I think it's incumbent upon you to keep going. Again, what you're doing, and you may not realize it, and we oftentimes we don't. We never do.
Yeah.
That's the thing. When someone reaches out, and I'm sure they do all the time, hey, what you're doing is so inspiring to me. I've been going through this, I've been going through that, and to guys like us, we're like, oh wow, I had no idea you were going, because I don't know you, I've never met you, but at the same time, people, especially with what you've done, by the way, kudos on your social media. Very, very good stuff. You guys have done a very good job.
Thank you. I just do the skateboard, and my wife does all the one thing she does really cool. Is she does the audio, the video descriptions for other people that use screen readers like me. So anybody blind that uses a screen reader can fully engage with my Instagram, because every video has a video description for their screen reader.
Oh wow! Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I never noticed that. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It always says, and it also it talks. That's what you're talking about. There's always an audio recording explaining what's happening.
If you turn on that option on your computer or phone. My phone computers talk. They have screen reader technology. It's called VoiceOver, and so it will read all that text. And so you can listen to a video, but you don't know what's happening in it. That's why, then you could read the text in the with your screen reader and then know exactly what happened in the video.
Incredible. Is there anything, and this question just sort of came to me, is there anything that going through what you've done that you wish a technology existed or something out there that would help manage the day-to-day for what you have? Is there something where, man, I wish they had this?
Working eyes, that's about it. Besides that, it's part of the challenge. You wouldn't be disabled if your life was easy. So, I'm just hoping Elon comes out with that, the fiber net. Everyone's like, oh, I wouldn't put that in my brain. I was like, I'll be the first. I don't care. I'm missing. I'd rather every day when people try to be like, oh, this is fake, cap or whatever. I'm like, I would love to go back being a mediocre skateboarder with sight. I would love that. Instead of being a really good blind skateboarder, I'd rather go back to mediocrity.
The internet's such a weird place. I can't believe people say that. They say you're fake.
No. Well, I mean, yeah, look what I'm doing. Of course, there's so many people out there that one, they don't understand skateboarding. Two, they can't imagine doing anything after their life after losing their sight. So what's the point of so there's a lot of people that already put a cap on their own how far they can reach. They already cap that. Where, I think a person like me and a lot of people I like being around, they don't succeed all the time, but they always try. Mm-hmm. They always go like, well, yeah, I'll try to run a marathon. I got 12 weeks. Like no thought of being like, oh, I can't do that. It's just more of like, I try. If I don't do it, then I'll try again.
Oh yeah.
I always say fail forward.
Fail forward. You just took the words right out of my mouth. Yep. Keep failing forward and never stop.
Yep.
If you never become afraid to fail, well, then eventually you will succeed.
Yeah.
If you keep failing, that's the only difference between somebody who failed or somebody who succeeded, is the person that succeeded kept failing until they didn't.
Yeah, and they're not going to be afraid to fail again too.
Exactly. Exactly. I would honestly, to what you said though, I would not give up hope that will happen in our lifetime. We're about the same age. Elon's doing some stuff, and in all seriousness, medical technology is not all that far away from doing something like that. To create. The eyes are just so incredibly complex.
Yeah.
From what I understand, it's not like replacing a limb or anything. No, it's so complex.
Yeah. But I mean, that's where that blew my mind when he came out with that. He was like, I knew the limb difference thing would be something that could be handled. But when he was like, yeah, and you'll be able to see too. And like, those were the first two things that he came out with when the, what is that thing called? It's like Cybernet or I forget what it's called.
Eli, help me out here. Do you don't know? No?
Yeah, I forget what it's called.
I can't. I remember him talking about it, but I don't recall what it was actually called. Yeah. But I mean, with everything going with AI, with ChatGPT, that's so funny. That happened recently, and what was it like? Do you remember that? Like, oh hey, by the way, AI is real now. They can just come up with information just willy nilly out of nowhere.
Yeah.
We are seeing in real time the changes to our society through artificial intelligence. And it's, I think the reason why that topic is so, gaslit on both directions is that there's no denying that for somebody like yourself or anyone with this type, if artificial intelligence can create the ability for you to see 20/20 vision again, then it's an amazing, amazing tool.
The crazy part is it's already happening. So I have an app on my phone called Microsoft Scene AI, and what it can do is it could read text in the real world. So usually how my screen reader works is it's got to be sent to me in my phone so it could read it. But now I can point a camera at text on a wall and it will read it now, or I can point it at a room and it will just give me a brief description of like 2 people, door on left, or something like that. So so it's already happening. It's just I think we're a couple decades out, but
you're young enough to see that happen. If that neural link comes to fruition, neural link, that's what it was. Yep. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, it's the neural link.
Yep.
If the neural link actually does come to fruition, to where now your camera on your phone can actually be your eyes, to where now I can point now it's not just going to say Iron Man in the corner, table in the middle. Now you can actually see it.
Yeah, and it just goes straight to your brain. Yeah,
and it goes straight to your brain.
Yeah.
And again, to what I was earlier said, that's the double-edged sword. There's because there's no denying that technology is useful in certain circumstances and extremely dangerous in others.
Yeah,
it's just tough because we tend as a species, I think, to just push the limits on what we will allow and what we will do, and we usually push past the really positive side and get into kind of the scary side of things too.
Well, it's like anything, it's a double-edged sword. Some of the best things have the worst stuff, like nuclear energy. That's good. Could also create nuclear bombs, or social media. Like I got to meet you and connect us, and hopefully someone gets a benefit from listening to this podcast. Amen. Or you can go on and just troll people and make them feel like shit. So it's it works both ways. So
Two great analogies. Yeah. Absolutely. So if anybody wanted to get in touch with you, Justin, or see any of the stuff that you're doing, where would they go?
You can find me on Instagram, Justin the Bishop, or TikTok, Justin the Bishop, anywhere.
Nice. Yeah. How's TikTok been for you guys?
Horrible. I hate TikTok. So the worst thing ever. I hope I mean, not for any like security, like national security reasons. But sure. I hope it gets deleted. 'Cause, I've never went down like I'm blind, so I can't even see the stuff. But just listening, and I'll be like, wait, I've been on this for 30 minutes. Like this is insane. Yeah. So the way it just knows your what you want to listen to.
Yeah.
is it's insane.
Well, they create little, and that's the problem. They create little echo chambers around us to where, hey, if I think I believe a certain way, well, all right, now my phone is going to reaffirm that in me all the time.
Yeah.
Where now if I get around a human being who thinks differently than me, I don't even know what to do. I can't talk to that person.
Yeah, and it's horrible for people like so I think all athletes are addicts in some way. That's how they can fixate and get good at something.
Sure.
So I'll go down like rabbit holes of like, you know what, I want to learn about birds today. And so like my feed will be birds for a month, and I'll be like, wait, I don't want to learn about this anymore. Like, and then you can't, you're stuck in that algorithm, and it takes months to like pull it out. And so, it's
or even worse,
kind of rough. Yeah.
Or even worse, you didn't search birds on purpose. Yeah. All you did was one day say, hey, you know what'd be really cool is maybe if one day I learned about birds. Yeah. And all of a sudden, oh, that's weird. Now all my feed is about birds.
Yeah.
Or even worse, something that you might want to buy. Like, man, I need a new mattress. Well, guess what? Now the mattress sales are coming. Oh yeah, I don't think anybody denies that we're being listened to at all times.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah, like I have my Alexas all over the house. I don't care.
Yeah.
But
it is really cool though that there is this whole side of this technology that is designed for people without vision. I mean, it's what better use of that technology could there possibly be?
Yeah. I got very lucky because when I first lost my sight only 11 years ago, some of the technology we have, like my voiceover now reads faster than you guys could read.
Right. Yeah.
And back then it was kind of glitchy, really slow, wouldn't read everything. So even in 10 years, how far along technology for the blind have come is just insane.
Because, I mean, you lost your vision here in the last 12 years.
Yep.
Imagine losing your vision back in, like, the 1700s.
Yeah. I mean, in the 80s. like even then.
Exactly.
Like, that's insane, you know?
Ray seemed to make out okay, but other than him, everybody else losing their vision, and they seem to suck. Like, that would be terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, trying to watch a movie or TV without audio description or, because that didn't really exist. I saw my first audio described movie like in 2009, 2010 was the first one. So, yeah, like they've been around longer, but now they're, I can watch, Game of Thrones and it has audio description. So, it's kind of everywhere now.
Yeah. Game of Thrones would probably be compelling enough, even like sort of without it. Like if you just because Game of Thrones is such a discussion dialogue based show, if you have just a brief interpretation of what each character is, you could probably get a lot out of that. I mean, my personal, I love the dialogue, the discussions of Game of Thrones more than anything else.
Yeah, I do too. I'm a fantasy nerd, so I like all that.
Oh man, well, bro, it was awesome having you in. Thank you so much for making the trip, both of you guys. Carol, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be a lot of fun at that show.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah. All right, buddy, we'll stop it there. Thank you guys so much for watching that episode of Becoming the 1% Podcast. If you like the content and you want to see more of it, hit the like and subscribe. Activate that notification bell as well. We really appreciate it. If you guys want to see more of it, we actually have the Becoming the 1% Instagram, and the podcast is available on Spotify. For our socials, we have Strict Vision Athletics on Instagram, we have it on YouTube, and we have it on TikTok.